Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. My name is Bowman. I'm a member of the admissions team here at MIT Sloan, and we're going to be going over the application process for our MBA early or deferred admissions program. I'm joined by some wonderful teammates here that are going to be kind of working on the back end to answer some questions you may have throughout the presentation. However, there will be time for Q&A at the end as well. If you have questions while we're talking, feel free to pop them in the Q&A feature. Don't use the chat, and one of my wonderful teammates will get back to you with a response. But with that, let's go over the agenda for the day. So first, we're going to start with talking about the value of an MIT Sloan MBA. Then we're going to talk a bit about the deferred admissions process. And then we're going to get into some specific tips and tricks for the application, really getting into the nitty-gritty of what we're going to be looking for as you're filling out the application. And then at the end, there will be some time for some Q&A as well. So, what is an MBA? So, a Master's of Business Administration is, of course, a graduate degree that gives you the knowledge and network and skills to lead teams and companies of any size and any industry. So, there really are a lot of benefits of getting an MBA, specifically from MIT Sloan, which we will touch on in a minute. But some important highlights of the MBA program is that it is going to be a 2-year full-time in-person program. So you will have an opportunity to be in community with everyone at MIT and learn it together. And something that's really special about the MIT MBA is that we do our best to create a diverse class profile. So not only are you learning from world-renowned faculty, but you are also learning from a really diverse peer group in and out of the classroom. So some specific benefits of an MIT MBA. First and foremost, we are at MIT. So there is going to be a unique aspect of kind of combining this intersection of technology and business. So we are at the cutting edge of a lot of technological advancements, which gives a unique perspective to a lot of our classes and a lot of the courses you'll get a chance to participate in that other programs may not have access to. MIT Sloan specifically has a strong focus on developing innovative leaders that are going to shape the world. And that is something that is ingrained into all of our courses that both faculty and staff and even students really try to, bring out in one another. So you will get a chance to develop and hone your leadership skills while you're here. An MBA is a great way to take your career to the next level, whether that's something that you want to just, maybe you're staying in your current industry and you're looking for a way to elevate yourself among your peers, or maybe you're looking to pivot to a new industry. An MBA is a great chance to explore some other fields, learn from people that maybe have different experiences than you, and take a career pivot. It is also a great way to pursue a startup. So entrepreneurship is something that is really ingrained into the environment here at MIT Sloan. And so it is not uncommon for graduates of the MBA program to maybe start from scratch and build their own startup with even some friends that they've made along the way here, or joining a startup after graduation and kind of helping scale that to a more viable organization is a really common step to take after the MBA as well. So any of those are really common reasons that we see students enrolling in the MBA program. Another big benefit is that you will build a really strong network of MIT alumni, and not even just MIT Sloan. So of course, there are a lot of MIT Sloan alumni globally, but also the MIT network as a whole. So if you are an MIT Sloan graduate, you have access to the MIT institution, not only while you're on campus, but also the resources and network that are available to you after you graduate. And that really spans a vast, variety of geographical diversity as well as industry diversity and work function diversity. So wherever you want to go after you graduate, we are confident that someone at MIT will be able to guide you and maybe help you make a connection or two along the way. So that professional network really cannot be understated. As far as academic offerings specifically, we have a couple of things we want to highlight here. So we have a unique 1-semester core. The great thing about this core is that it's going to be your first semester here at MIT Sloan, and you're going to take all those courses with the same cohort of students. So not only are you coming in and off the bat building these really strong connections with people in your community, but you're also completing all the core requirements in this first semester, which then leaves the next 3 semesters open to you to pursue whatever most aligns with your individual interests and goals. So lots of flexibility to pursue those electives and kind of shape your experience to be what is best for you and your goals. A really common thing to pursue when you have that time and space to go after these electives are action learning labs. So action learning labs are experiential learning opportunities where students are partnered up with businesses that are working on real projects or real problems, and they want your input and support to navigate that. So you really get this hands-on learning that is easily transferable into, your full future career, not just, your next job after graduation, but this hands-on experience is really invaluable and something that you can carry with you throughout the entirety of your career, wherever that may be. The MBA early admission specifically, as many of you most likely know, is our application process for granting deferred admission into the MBA program. So students like yourselves who are in their final year of undergraduate or graduate studies are able to apply to the program, get admitted, and then come back in 2 to 5 years once they've gained that real world experience. We totally believe that having that real world experience not only enriches your own experience in the MBA program, but also just enriches the classroom and allows you to both retain the information better and also support your classmates better. So that experience is really important, which is why we have you go out and come back once you've got that full-time experience. But you're able to kind of get the admissions process out of the way now and have that admission in your back pocket as you go out and get that full-time experience. A bit about the timeline for this process. So step one is, of course, going to be to apply to the program. The deadline coming up is going to be April 17th, 2026, so just under 2 months away. So if you're already at this information session, that's great. Glad to see you're thinking about this application process a little bit earlier. You've got plenty of time to get the application in. There is no rolling admission for the application here, so everything that we do is going to happen after that application deadline. So you've got all the time up until 3 p.m. on the day of the deadline. So take your time, make sure you're confident in your application. That said, if you're done early, you're certainly welcome to submit it before that. We just won't look at it until after that deadline passes. So once applications are in, we'll review all the applications, and then a subset of those applicants will be invited to interview with us. That'll be about a 20 to 30-minute Zoom interview that will take place throughout May. And then after that, another subset of those interviewees will be admitted in early June, so June 11th, and then they'll have until July 31st to accept that offer of admission. So a couple of weeks to think about that. If you do accept your offer of admission, you're going to enter what we call the deferral period, or you'll be a part of the deferral pool, you might hear us say. And that just means that you're part of that early admit group that is in their 2 to 5 year deferral period. While you're kind of in that in-between phase, you will have lots of opportunity to connect with MIT admissions, including, there might be some events that are in your area that we'll invite you to. There may be some virtual events you can join. But the most consistent form of contact is going to be our yearly check-ins that we have. So every August, a member of our team will reach out, check in with you. You can submit a brief form to share about what you've been up to. And also, this is where you would indicate if you did want to matriculate in the coming year. That's where this process would begin. So if you do decide that you want to matriculate into the MBA program in the coming year, you'll confirm your eligibility with a member of our team over a brief phone call, again, just to kind of hear what you've been up to, make sure you have satisfied that requirement for at least 2 years of full-time work experience. And then we'll have you submit what we call the abbreviated application. So I know that it says application, but it isn't evaluative at all. It really is an opportunity for you to share some updates with the admissions team about what you've been up to during your deferral period. So we want you to share, an updated resume, employment history, if you've taken any additional courses. Those are all things that we want to be aware of. Of course, your application is going to have changed since you initially applied to the early program because you will have gone out and gotten all this full-time work experience. So we want to have your most up-to-date information. You'll submit that by the round 1 regular MBA deadline, And then after that, you'll be admitted into the incoming cohort officially. And from there, you'll just be a regular member of the MBA admit cohort. And you'll have access to everything that any other MBA admit would. So, admit events, and you can kind of move through the rest of the process with the rest of your MBA cohort. Um, yeah, that's that process. So what is the benefit of applying to the MBA program through this early pathway? So the first and most obvious one is, of course, that you just have this confirmation that an MBA is in your 5-year plan. That is confirmed, and you are able to have that admission in your back pocket while you go out and get that invaluable full-time work experience. It's really helpful for planning your personal and career, 5-year plan, just to know that you have this flexibility and kind of weight off your shoulders to know that this is going to be something that you have access to in the next 5 years. It also is very helpful that you won't have any application stress or have to take a GMAT or a GRE while you're also navigating working full time. All of you are current students, and so you are likely in the mindset for taking tests and, are used to studying. And so it's definitely going to be easier to get that kind of requirement out of the way as opposed to working for 3 or 4 years and then needing to kind of get back into that testing mindset or that academic mindset. To complete those requirements. So large benefit to you getting that completed now and just checking that box. Additionally, the MBA early application does not have an application fee. So not only are you saving kind of on your the time commitment, but also the financial commitment to getting all of this completed in the early pathway as opposed to applying later in the regular MBA application. And then also you are able to start building your network before you even arrive on campus. So I just mentioned that you are, once you're in your deferral pool, there is, consistent engagement with MIT Sloan. There's a LinkedIn group for MIT MBA early admits that you're able to start kind of meeting people that are going to be, or that may be in your incoming class, building those connections, and just kind of getting your footing in the MBA community before you even arrive on campus. It's a really big leg up and benefit of getting into this pipeline earlier. So I'm sure many of you are wondering who is eligible. So I have this up on the screen for you here. This is also available on the website. I'll go through it briefly right now. If you have questions about your specific eligibility, please email us. I know that there can be a lot of nuance in here, or maybe you have a situation that isn't exactly aligned with one of these. So if you are confused at all about if you are eligible or not, send us an email. We'll be happy to help you. We may tell you that you are still eligible and encourage you to apply, or we may have you just apply to the regular MBA program in the year that you intend to matriculate, just depending on where you kind of fall within these parameters here. So eligible students include undergrad students who are in their final year of their undergraduate studies and either have graduated or will graduate between August 2025 and September 2026. After you graduate, you should not be planning on enrolling in an MD, JD, or PhD program immediately, and you cannot have had any full-time prior work experience. That doesn't include internships. If you have like a full-time summer internship, that's okay. And it doesn't include co-op experiences either. We understand that sometimes some classes will have co-op requirements where you have to work full-time to also complete class requirements. So that is also all right. But any other full-time work experience would disqualify you from being eligible for this program. If you're a graduate student, it's fairly similar. So same thing, you should be in your final year of your graduate studies, and your graduation date should be between August 2025 and September 2026. You do have to have started your graduate program immediately after your undergraduate program. And so there can't be any gap there where you worked full-time in between those two experiences. Same thing, except for an internship or co-op experience. The only exception here is if you are a current MIT, Sloan MFin or MBAN student in your final year, then you would still be eligible to apply for the program. So that is the one exception there. So again, if you have any questions about this, definitely send us an email. We'll be happy to help figure out where you fall within this profile, or if you do. So getting into a bit of the application process and evaluation process, again, the upcoming deadline is going to be April 17th, 2026. And as I mentioned before, there are no rolling admissions. Everything is evaluated after that deadline. One thing to highlight is that all application materials should be submitted by that deadline. That does include letters of recommendation. And it is your responsibility as the applicant to make sure that your letters of rec are in by that date. So make sure you are in touch with your recommenders, that they are aware of that deadline, because everything should be received by then. As far as what's being evaluated, the process that we use is we score based on different competencies or attributes. We use kind of those two words interchangeably. And we assess based on what we consider to be attributes that make a successful Sloan student. The attributes listed here are the same ones that we use to evaluate our regular MBA applicants as well. However, of course, the data that we're using is going to be different. So while a traditional MBA applicant might or will have full-time work experience, of course, an MBA early applicant will be looking at your experience in the classroom, at internships, clubs in college, team sports. So the data pool that we're pulling from is a bit different, but we are looking for all the same attributes or competencies. So you can see here, we're looking for, how well you might work in a team, how you solve problems. I mentioned earlier that Sloan really is committed to developing principled leaders. So any leadership examples are things that we're going to be looking for in your application. But again, we'll be looking for how do these things apply to you in a classroom or, at an internship, as opposed to how do these things apply to you in a full-time position, because you just simply don't have that experience yet. The competencies that we're looking for do fall into two different categories. So it's demonstrated success and personal attributes. So those two things are what we keep in mind as we're scoring candidates. And this is just a helpful graph that we use to kind of show what we're looking for. So the actual numbers on here don't necessarily correlate to our exact scoring system, but as you can see, demonstrated success is what we look for as far as success professionally or academically, and then personal leadership attributes are the personal qualities that we'll look for as we evaluate candidates. And that upper right quadrant tends to be what we look for when we select students to move forward throughout the process. And that applies to both after reading applications and also after interviews. Both these demonstrated successes and attributes are considered at all stages in the application process. Great, we're going to get into the actual application requirements right now and what we're looking for as far as the materials go. So first up is your academic records and relevant courses. So we're going to ask that you submit all your transcripts from any academic experiences that you've had. That does include study abroad, and it does include if you transferred, for example, and you have maybe a year of experience at one school before going to your degree granting institution, we will need both of those transcripts as well. It also includes any non-degree coursework if you have it. So if you've taken Coursera courses or you took a summer class, we want to see all that information. So that can take some time to kind of acquire all those materials. So if you haven't already, start requesting some copies of your transcript from any institution. It can be unofficial transcripts. Of course, we know that you are all still in school, so it is completely okay if you don't have your finalized transcript yet. Please just send us your most up-to-date transcript, and then the official transcripts will be requested of you a bit later on in the process. So, if you are admitted and decide to enroll, that's when we'll ask for your official transcripts. But for right now, an unofficial, up-to-date transcript is all that we need. Make sure that it's legible. If you can't read it, neither can we. So if your upload seems a little bit blurry or small, try a different method. Maybe try scanning it or getting a different type of download because it is important that we are able to actually read that. If your transcripts aren't in English, please have those translated, but we will also need both the original copy and the certified translation. Most institutions will provide a translation for you, but if not, you can also use WES is a really common organization that will translate for you. So a couple different options there. The relevant course section, if you have started your application already, you'll see is separate from the transcripts. Basically, we're asking you to just highlight for us, give us a snapshot of the relevant courses you've taken. And by relevant courses, we mean courses that are aligned with applicable topics to the MBA core. They are not prerequisites. You do not have to have taken all of them or even any of them. Just a way for us to kind of get a quick snapshot of your academic experience. Your full academic history is still reviewed completely by our team, but this is just an easy way for us to get a highlight of your academic experience. And then, as I mentioned, if you've taken any other courses outside of your degree granting institution, you are welcome to upload any of those grades here as well. We do want to see all your academic history so we can have the best, most holistic view of your academic past. Okay, the cover letter is a 300-word paragraph where you explain why you are seeking a place in the MIT Sloan MBA program. So for this example, we ask, of course, you conform to standard business coherence. There's some simple tips over there on the left for you guys of how to upload it, how to address it. But the biggest thing that we want to highlight here is that we're asking you to choose a couple specific examples to really highlight yourself, speak to your strengths. We want you to use this cover letter to really sell yourself and explain why MIT Sloan is a good fit for you and why you're a good fit for MIT Sloan. Definitely, you want to choose some more recent examples. So, a story about an experience you've had in college will have more of an impact than something from high school. So, really make sure that you're picking relevant, recent examples that highlight your strengths. I think also an important thing to mention here is I touched on a bit before. It really is a two-way street if we want to make sure that you are a good fit for MIT Sloan and MIT Sloan is a good fit for you. We're looking for reasons to admit you, and we really want our students here to be successful and to thrive in MIT Sloan's culture and environment. So any insight that you can share as to why you feel like you fit that bill and why MIT Sloan will be a good fit for you will be really helpful for us to see. So we do want to say that you've done some research in the program and that you feel strongly that MIT is the right fit for you. So recommendation letters, MBA early applicants will submit 2 letters of recommendation. Ideally, one of these is going to be a professional source, so from maybe an internship supervisor, just someone that can really speak to your professional achievements. And the second letter should be from an academic source, so maybe a professor who can really speak to your achievements in an academic setting. Excuse me. Even better if it's maybe from a relevant course. That's always a great thing to consider if you have someone that can fit that category. The questions over here in the blue box are exactly what we ask your recommenders. This is included on the application. So you have a really good idea of what we're going to be asking of them. So you can really think and consider who can answer these questions really well and provide detailed examples that are relevant to you and are specific to you. So when considering that, it's not someone that maybe has the highest title, that doesn't really have an evaluative bearing on your application. So you don't have to ask your CEO that you only kind of know. If in reality your supervisor who works with you daily will likely be able to provide more details than someone else that maybe has a higher title would be able to provide. So just make sure that you're thinking about who can really answer these questions well. And the same thing goes for the academic rec as well. Even if you get your dean to write the letter, that's great. But if that isn't someone that can really speak to your specific skill set, we'd rather you pick someone that really can answer these questions. Some people do find it helpful to meet with their recommenders and kind of talk about their plan, help them understand why they're applying to this program specifically. That is completely fine. However, do make sure that you are not, writing their letters for them. That is not permitted. To submit the letter of recommendation, what actually happens is in the application, you submit the recommender's contact info, they're sent a link, and they must submit their letter from that link and associate with that email address. So there should be no circumstance in which you're submitting for them. But it may be helpful to still meet with them and talk to them about the application and the recommendation process to make sure that they are highlighting things that are relevant to MIT Sloan's MBA. All right, next is the resume. So the resume, we ask that it's a 1-page document that shares your academic and professional experiences. There are some guidelines over here on the left, so please use Times New Roman 10 font and then structure it in reverse chronological order of education, work experience, additional info, and upload as a Word or PDF document. So this is something that we do ask everyone adhere to. Whenever we do specify maybe formatting requirements or upload requirements, there are reasons for that. It makes our process easier and helps us get to the information that we need in a more efficient way. So it is in your best interest to really adhere to these guidelines for the resume or any other material on the application. Some other things to keep in mind. We are definitely looking for quantifiable accomplishments. So we don't necessarily need a description of your internship's day-to-day responsibilities. Once again, sell yourself. We want to see what you did and the impact that you had on the organization or institution you were working with. So keep in mind that we want to see those quantifiable pieces of information. You can also definitely use the resume to showcase your volunteer work or extracurricular activities. Again, this is the MBA early program, so we understand that you don't have full-time work experience. So therefore, we do want to see the other things you've been doing while you're at college, while you've been, on summer break. So volunteer work, extracurriculars, leadership positions, anything else that might be relevant. We definitely want to see it all, and we really enjoy getting that holistic understanding of your past experiences and what you've been up to. And then the last note is while you're putting together your resume or really your whole application, thinking to yourself, does this convey my story? Is a really helpful thought just keep in mind and help you keep the thread of your application. So again, this is a great space for both academic, professional, and additional information. So considering how you're making it all read as a cohesive application can be really helpful and help keep you organized as you're putting this together. So for test scores, submitting a GMAT or GRE is a required part of the application process. So you do need to have a valid test score in order to submit the application. If you have a valid score from the old GMAT version, that is completely fine as long as it's still valid. There is genuinely no preference between the GMAT or the GRE. It's whichever one you have, whichever one you feel more comfortable taking, completely up to you. And then also there's no preference between taking the test in person or online. Again, personal preference, completely up to you. We value all of those scores the same, just any score is required. A couple pieces of advice here is that there is no minimum score requirement for the GMAT or GRE, and a lower test score does not disqualify you from being admitted. It is just one component of a really extensive application, so just keep that in mind. It's just one data point, and there's no minimum requirement. That's a really common question we get. If you do take the test more than once, you can certainly submit multiple scores, but we ask that you don't super score yourself. The scores that you submit will be verified later on, and so it has to match exactly the scores that will be verified. So if you've taken the test twice, you can submit two separate test scores, and if you have a higher quantitative score in one and a higher verbal in the other, we will see that. Just please don't super score them yourself. All right, so there are two video questions on the application. Video question 1 is a 60-second introduction video where you'll have a chance to kind of say hi to your future classmates and share a bit about yourself. Note that, of course, this actually is not being shown to any future classmates. It's just for the admissions team. I promise no one else is going to be seeing this. But that is the prompt, is to introduce yourself as if you were saying hi to your future classmates. So a couple of notes, 60 seconds. Please film it in a single take. There should be no editing, no background music, no subtitles, and make sure that you are speaking directly to the camera and that we can see and hear you clearly. This is a great chance to share a bit about your personality, your passions. We kind of use it as a way to assess your fit with the MIT Sloan community. And so again, definitely feel free to be a little bit or let your personality come through in this video. Recording it on your phone is completely fine. There's no need, we're not looking for the next Hollywood blockbuster here. It's completely fine to just film it on your phone. And it is not required that you are in a suit and tie and behind a desk or anything like that, but we do ask that you use your best judgment as far as your attire and background go. This is still a part of your application, so we encourage you to consider that as you're picking maybe how you want to be framing this video. And then this middle note here about how the best videos tell us something about the applicant that we can't gain from the rest of the application. That is definitely an important part. We already have your resume, so the video shouldn't just be you kind of walking us through your resume. We encourage you to share a bit more about yourself and help us learn something new about you that maybe we haven't had the chance to learn yet on your application. The biggest thing that we see that applicants maybe don't always consider is that hearing and seeing you is the main point of this video. So if you are going to be a bit creative and maybe be outside, or in a different environment for the video, that's totally fine. Just make sure that we can see and hear you clearly. We've gotten some videos of people at the top of a ski mountain or on a hike, and it's very difficult to hear them if the wind is blowing or, whatever it may be. So before you submit it, you can, do multiple takes of this if you like. So make sure that you're watching it back and that everything actually is clear for us. Video question 2 is a bit different because you aren't able to do multiple takes. It's just a one take, one shot video that is recorded directly in the application. So it is going to appear as a tab. Video question 2 will appear once you have completed about 80% of the application. It'll pop up that you're able to submit and record that now. What'll happen is you'll be presented with the prompt that is picked from a pool of about 300 random questions that we have. You'll have 10 seconds to prepare, and then a video will start to record, and it'll stop after 60 seconds or after you stop it. So I know that sounds a little bit scary, but I promise it'll be okay. We really are not looking for any specific answers here. There's no right or wrong. It's just about you and your own experiences. So there's no preparation needed. You have those 10 seconds to prep. And we just want to hear a bit more about, how you communicate when you're under maybe a bit more of a time pressure, when you haven't had time to prepare, but there is no right or wrong answer. A big tip here is to complete this video as early as you can. There are often lags as the application deadline gets closer because everyone's trying to submit it at the same time. So if you see it pop up, feel free to submit it then. And then the last thing here is the world that shaped you essay. So this is our short essay response. The prompt is pretty open. It's just how has the world you come from shaped who you are today? And you have an opportunity to share more about your background. So again, we're looking to learn more about you. Our application review process is very holistic. We're looking to learn about, of course, your academic and professional background, but also we want to learn about you as a person. So this is a chance to kind of share a bit about your story. A quick note here is that this is, of course, a free text response, but please only use it to address this specific prompt. If you have any other concerns that you want to address, there are plenty of spaces on the application to do so. If you have, academic concerns, there's questions for that. So make sure that this space is being used to actually discuss this specific essay. It really is a great opportunity for us to learn more about you. Again, similar to the video question 1, think about what hasn't been mentioned in your application yet and what else will be helpful for the committee to learn about you as we do this evaluation process. Use the space to share new information that might not have a different place on the application. And that we can, you're using all the real estate of the application to the best of your ability and making the most of the question. Our last tip here is just to genuinely be yourself. I'm sure if you're applying to other grad programs, you'll hear this a lot from other admissions teams, but it really is the truth that we can tell when an applicant is genuine about their experiences. It really does come through very strongly on our end when someone is being authentic and sharing about their past experiences, their goals, their passions. So as you're putting your application together, just continually ask yourself, does this convey the real me? Is this genuine to who, to my experiences and to who I am? And that I think will be a really good guiding factor for the application as a whole. So that is, I think, our biggest tip as a general application guideline. So here we have kind of the application checklist, again, just for you to review. So all those things we just went over are here as well. And again, the deadline is April 17th. And some more information about the interview process will be there as well. I'll leave this on the screen for now. But I do think that is the end of my little overview here. We've got some time for questions as well. Anna's come off camera to see what we've got to answer today.
Yeah, of course. So we do have a few questions in the chat. So the first one is a question regarding the cover letter. So someone asked specifically, how should they go about articulating that we are someone who is a true doer, which is listed on our online prompt?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to pull back up the cover letter for us here so everyone can see it. I mean, I think that, yes, we definitely are looking for doers. As you can see in the cover letter here, even in the prompt, we mentioned that we're looking for, thoughtful leaders, determined to put their stamp on the world. So I think just thinking about your recent history and picking an example where you had a specific impact on, an organization or even a person. It doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be like a professional experience per se. We do value all experiences. So again, as an early applicant, we know that you don't have full-time work experience. So if there's an example of you, making a change in a school club or, impacting the way that an assignment was done in a classroom, we just want to see that you are someone that can maybe you differed from the status quo a little bit and were able to shift the perspective around you and get people to agree with you. So that is something that we consider a positive quality in a leader, a doer, someone that can gain that buy-in and get things done. That might be a helpful way to think about that doer word.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. We had another question. Someone asked, is the GMAT and GRE required as part of the application process, which I know that you touched on a bit. And then they also asked, would it be acceptable if they enrolled in a master's program right after undergrad, and then applied?
Yeah, so yes, the GMAT or GRE is required. As we said before, there's no preference between either one of those, but just you do have to have a valid test score. And yeah, so if you do enroll or if you're planning on enrolling in a master's program immediately after graduating, I would recommend applying to the MBA early program in your final year of your graduate program, because that is still completely eligible to apply to the early program. And the reason for that is that that's a full year or maybe even 2 years of your deferral period that then you're using not to gain that full-time work experience. So then you'll have less time to get those 2 years, 24 months of experience after you graduate. So if you're in your undergraduate senior year right now and you know you're going into a master's program, you can apply to this program in your last year of your graduate studies instead. And then you'll have a full 5 years after that to gain that full-time work experience and kind of continue your professional journey there rather than applying in your undergraduate year, and then you're using part of your deferral period to continue your education rather than get that full-time experience. So that would be my recommendation there.
Awesome, thanks. And then we also had a question about recommenders.
Mhm.
So they understand that we ask for two letters of recommendation, one academic, one professional. Is it okay to submit two academic or two professional if that aligns more with their experience?
Yeah, so the recommendation is always to stick with the guidelines of the application. We do know that people's situations are different, and so not every applicant will be able to submit exactly aligned with what we ask for, but we are very intentional with the materials that we request from our applicants. There are specific reasons why we want one professional and one academic as it relates to our evaluation process. So if you can submit one professional and one academic, that is very, very strongly encouraged. If for some reason that is really not an option for you, then yes, you can think about what is most or who may be best able to submit those letters on your behalf, even if it isn't exactly aligned. But it is very, very strongly recommended to stick to the guidelines on the application because again, that is will be most beneficial to the application and evaluation process.
Awesome, thank you. And then we also had a question. Someone asked, since eligibility for the MBA early admission program will end after they graduate, would applying now not being admitted have an impact if they decided to apply to the regular MBA program in the future?
No, definitely not at all. So the MBA early admissions process is really difficult because we just have less information on you. So oftentimes, if students aren't successful in their MBA early application, it does not mean that they aren't a great candidate for the MBA. It may just mean that we didn't have enough proof or evidence, at this time in order to admit you. But it's actually really favorable even to see someone that was interested in the past is still interested now to apply again in the future. We love to see that, to see consistent interest in MIT Sloan, consistent commitment to wanting to get your MBA. And so definitely not a negative impact at all if you aren't successful. Certainly would encourage you to apply again to the regular MBA program when you are ready to matriculate.
Awesome, thanks. So we have a question about the LGO program. So someone was asking what the procedure would look like for someone who's admitted to the MBA early program, but then wishes to pursue the LGO program.
Yeah, of course. So if you don't know, our LGO program is a dual degree program with our engineering program. So you can double major, or sorry, get a double degree in Masters of Engineering and also an MBA. It's still a 2 year program, so it's 2 degrees in 2 years. And that's a very broad overview of the LGO program. But as far as the application process for that goes for MBA earlies, The application process right now does not differ at all. You don't need to do anything different if you think you might be interested in the LGO program. It comes into play when you decide that you want to matriculate. So, if when you decide that you want to come to the program, you think you're interested in pursuing the LGO route, you would have to apply to that program separately and see if you were successful in that application. That would entail just a bit more information from you. So something like you have to submit an extra technical letter of recommendation from someone that can speak more to your technical abilities. There's an additional essay you'll need to submit. So there's a couple more materials that the LGO team will need from you to evaluate you for their program. And then if you are successful in your application there, that's great. You can then enroll in the LGO program because you already have your MBA admission. If for any reason you aren't successful in that application, you are still totally able to come to the MBA program itself. So interest in the LGO program doesn't have any negative impact on your interest in the MBA program. But again, there's nothing different that you need to do right now. It is just something that you'll need to flag for us as you start the matriculation process, whenever that may be.
Great, thank you. And it looks like we just have a couple more questions so we can wrap up on time. Someone asked, would not having a job offer when they're applying affect the strength of their application?
Yeah, awesome question. Not at all. So there is a question on the application that asks you that exactly. It says, do you have a job offer lined up for after graduation? And you can share details there if you do. If you don't, that is completely fine. There is also a question that says, what are your plans then for after graduation? So again, that's not a requirement, and we certainly know that the economy and job market right now are, make things a little bit difficult for people that are searching for a job. So we completely understand that that might not be everyone's path at this exact moment. So we're just looking to learn more about maybe what your plan is then if you don't have a job lined up immediately after graduation. So either that's what your job search plan looks like or what you intend to do instead. We just want to get that information so that we can get, again, that holistic view of your past experiences and what your future next 5 years will look like to see if you'd be a good fit for the program. But certainly not a negative thing to not have a job lined up. We completely understand that's not going to be what everyone's path looks like. So just answer the question genuinely. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to our last question. So someone asked, as the deferred MBA program is extremely competitive, in your experience, how can an applicant best convey the authentic version of themselves based on prior successes?
Yeah, so it certainly is a competitive pool. I would say that's something that I see or that I think helps a candidate stand out. And it's something that I've been touching on a little bit throughout this presentation is really thinking about that the thread or the story that you're conveying as you're putting together your application. So being able to really paint a clear picture, and I apologize, I meant to put this back up, to really paint a clear picture of your experiences and who you are and why that's a good fit for MIT Sloan specifically. Is something that I think when we see that or when that is made very clear in the application, it can help a candidate stand out. So each application component here in this list gives you a new opportunity to share something with the admissions team. So think about what you're putting into each component, how it ties your whole story together, and how clear you're able to make it that that means that you are a good fit for MIT Sloan and that we are a good fit for you. We are looking for reasons to admit you. So definitely, again, sell yourself and help us see that MIT Sloan match. And I think that's a great way to, or a great thought to keep in mind as you're wrapping up your application.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. I know we are at time. So thank you all so much for joining. If you have any questions, you can definitely email us. This is the MBA early admissions inbox monitored by our team. So we'll get back to you as soon as possible if you have any questions at all. Again, April 17th is that deadline, so just under 2 months away. If you haven't gotten started, definitely do so. But if you have any questions throughout that process, feel free to reach out. And thank you all again so much for being here.